How close are these Sharks to actually locking up the number one odds in the NHL draft? We dive into it today.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite lovable losers in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be diving into Tankathon hardcore. We're going to be looking at where the Sharks are at, what their tragic number is, and look at the remaining schedules between the Sharks and the Blackhawks. Plus, we're also going to be talking about the Sharks prospects in their playoffs. Eric Pohlkamp with a massive game for Denver. Checking out some of the other guys. So let's start with the tank. And we're going to be discussing this because I don't want to talk about the Kings game, right? They lost 8-1. It stunk. The penalties were brutal. Taking dumb penalties beginning of the game and put yourself in a hole. And the Kings just poured it on. The defense was bad. The goaltending was bad. The team played badly. That's it. And I don't want to spend 20 minutes talking about how this team played badly. Because again, we are big picture podcast, right? We are trying to build that sustainable success for the Sharks, right? And getting this final piece for the prospect pool of a number one pick here and potentially Matthew Schaefer or Michael Misa would really go a long way into kind of building this sustainable success for the Sharks. So we are going to forego talking about the Kings because I don't want to talk about the Kings. You don't want to hear about the Kings game. We want to talk about fun things, and Tankathon is a fun thing to talk about. So speaking of Tankathon, this is where we're at right now. The Sharks currently first in Tankathon, 73 games played. They have 49 points, 14 regulation wins, 336 point percentage. They've gone 3-7-0 in their last 10 games. Chicago, 74 games played, 51 points, 345 point percentage, 18 regulation wins with a 1-9 in their last 10. So I harp on the regulation wins for a reason, because that is the first tiebreaker if the points are even and the Sharks own the tiebreaker. The Sharks would have to win 4 more games, and the Sharks can't win 4 more games and then still have less amount of points than the Blackhawks. The math doesn't really math there. It would be very hard for that to happen. I guess Chicago would have to lose a bunch of games in overtime. I guess they'd have to lose 2 games in no, it's more than that. It's a lot of overtime losses. So Sharks basically have the regulation wins locked up. So if they both end with the same amount of points, the Sharks win that tiebreaker and they will have the first odds. So the Sharks' tragic number. So this is a combination of points lost or points not accrued, right? So every game you can get, if you win the game, you get 2 points. If you lose the game in overtime, you get 1 point. And then if you just lose the game in regulation, that's 0 points. So points lost, points not accrued, plus Chicago points earned. That number is 16 right now, right? Because the Sharks have 9 games left. That's 18 total points available on the table. And there's a 2-point difference right now. So the Sharks have a 2-point wiggle room to tie. So basically, if the Blackhawks lose out, the Sharks can win 1 game the rest of the way, and it will be a tie. But the Sharks will have the tiebreaker. So the tragic number is 16 points. So we need Chicago to earn some points here, and the Sharks to continue to play bad and lose some games here. So let's look at where points might be earned and where potential pitfalls for the Sharks are going to be. So looking at the Sharks schedule here. So this is the Sharks remaining schedule. They have 9 games left here. They play Anaheim on Tuesday. Anaheim has been playing better recently. Anaheim here, they are 9th. They played 4-5-1 in their last 10. They've lost. They did lose tonight. But in general, they have been playing better with wins. They got win over the Rangers, win over Boston. They beaten that. Like, they've been competitive here. And so that is a definite pitfall game for the Sharks there. Sharks also play Edmonton 3 times. Edmonton, who's probably going to be the 3rd seed in the Pacific, but there's a chance. So Edmonton's probably looking at 6 points there for themselves if they want to try to catch the Kings here, especially like the Kings playing at home. They're pretty good, as we saw tonight. So that 6 points that and again, for right now, the difference between the two teams, it's only 2 points with games tied. So they want to probably have and with Draisaitl back, McDavid probably coming back, those games are probably Edmonton. Those are tough games for the Sharks. Sharks also do play Seattle on the 5th at home. Then they play Calgary. Again, Calgary fighting for a playoff spot. Seattle, I think, is just about eliminated. So that's a potential pitfall game there. Sharks then head on the road to play Minnesota on Wednesday the 9th. Minnesota, probably going to be the first wildcard spot, but with the way the Blues are playing right now, so Minnesota definitely needs that game if they want to secure their wildcard spot, because you don't want to go play Winnipeg. I guess playing Winnipeg or playing Vegas, either way, it's going to be brutal first draw. So then again, Sharks play Edmonton on Friday the 11th. Then they play at Calgary and then at Vancouver in a back-to-back. Again, Calgary is still kind of fighting for their playoff spots there. Vancouver looks like they might be dead in the water, so that's a potential pitfall game there. And then Edmonton to end the season, which, again, Edmonton needing all of their points to try to finish, try to at least get that number 2 spot and not have to make the Kings start the season on the road or start the playoffs on the road. So as for the Chicago Blackhawks, their schedule, so they have 8 games left. They play Colorado on Wednesday. Colorado is a machine right now. Then they go and play at Washington on the 4th. That's a tough road trip I guess but still, Washington could be Ryan Leonard time, right? Tough one there. But they played 2 games against Pittsburgh here. And I know Pittsburgh has been playing better, but we've also seen Pittsburgh not play very well as well. So Pittsburgh has played 6. They have been playing better, 6-3-1 in their last 10 games here. So if you can steal one of those, if you can split one of those, that'd go huge. That'd be huge right here. I think this run right here, 2 games versus Pittsburgh and a game at Boston, this could be massive. If you can get a couple points out of here, especially against a Boston team, which has very much packed it in for this season. Boston, who's gone 2-7-1 and have lost 8 straight. Here's where you got to bank some points. You got to hope that the Blackhawks bank some points. So if you can get a couple points here, maybe you get a win, maybe you get an overtime game. If you get 3 points there, you got to be feeling really good about the Sharks' opportunities, because then they play Winnipeg. They play Montreal, who's fighting for a playoff spot. The game against Ottawa, though, is interesting because Ottawa could be locked into their wild card 1 spot and have nothing to play for that game on the 15th. And they could be very much resting guys like Kachuk and Allmark and some of their top-end guys to get ready for the playoffs. So that could be a sneaky potential for the Sharks right there to try to have at least Chicago bank some points here. So, It's going to be a very neck and neck going down the stretch here. Chicago does have a tougher strength of schedule at 570 left here, and the Sharks are at 559 when it comes to the strength of schedule. So it is going to be tough, but I do think there is a path there, like you can kind of see there, and I think that 3-game stretch, but the 2 against Pittsburgh and 1 against Boston. If Chicago gets like 2 or 3 points out of there, we should be feeling really good about the direction, about our chances of potentially getting the first overall pick odds. So, yeah. So that's where we're with the tank. Tragic number 16. So combination of Sharks losses, points not earned, and Chicago points earned. 16 points in the last kind of 3 weeks here. So we're going to discuss some of these Sharks prospects here. Eric Pohlkamp, massive game for University of Denver, Denver University, as they move on into the Frozen Four. So we'll talk about that. Talk about some of the other Sharks prospects here in just 1 second. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. It's all chalk, baby. So just pick one. I guess Duke. They do have the best player, and it is Duke. So if you want to bet on Duke or whomever else you're maybe Auburn, I don't know, man. Pick one of those tournament games. Of course, we're down to the final few games here. There's always something exciting to bet on, though. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get on college hoops action all tournament long. All right, before we continue, we discuss Eric Pohlkamp. Do, of course, want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. If you haven't yet, perfect time to subscribe. We have a really fun interview coming tomorrow. You'll find out at 9 p.m. Monday Pacific time, as that episode will drop then. Or we also have plenty of other stuff coming as well. Draft profiles. We'll continue checking on the prospects. Plenty of stuff here at Locked On Sharks. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. Let's continue talking prospects. So Eric Pohlkamp, big game for Denver tonight. So Pohlkamp and University of Denver University, DU, they did it again, shutting down Boston College as they won 3-1 over BC to move on to the Frozen Four. Pohlkamp, a huge reason why. One, scoring a goal helps. He scored the first goal of the game to put them up 1-0. Massive shot. Like, one of the things, like, watching Pohlkamp is how heavy of a shot he has, and he can get that thing off quickly. You saw it. He had 5 shots on goal for a team. Denver, they had 25 shots on goal in the entire game. He had 5 of them. So you see the offense there, right? And whenever he gets a chance, he is not afraid to let it rip. And right, he's also not getting the same opportunities that you would potentially expect because they have Zeke Bouillon, right? So Pohlkamp is on the second unit. Like, he's not getting all the offensive draws. Like, he's not getting all the opportunities here. So I think it's impressive the way he's still producing points despite not getting the top end situations there. So but what I was really impressed with Pohlkamp was how he played in his own zone. Tough dude, right? And BC, of course, they have Ryan Leonard. Ryan Leonard's expected to sign his ELC. I wouldn't be Monday. I wouldn't be surprised if he signs his ELC on Monday and he's in Washington by Tuesday, right? Pohlkamp was taking it to Ryan Leonard at times. Like, he was going toe to toe with Ryan Leonard at times in this game. which is what you want to see, right? Brian Leonard, probably one of, if not the best players who's not in the NHL right now, or like at least top 5, like easily top 5 best players who's not in the NHL right now, right? And probably going to win the Hobie Baker. Like Ryan Leonard, pretty good at hockey. He was going toe to toe with him, showing some, and like Leonard is a physical dude who will throw the body around and is not afraid to play in the dirty areas. Like he's going to be a perfect fit for the Caps, right? Pohlkamp was going toe to toe with him, shutting him down, matching his whatever Leonard was doing, especially late, right? When the Denver is up 2-1 late in this game before they get the empty netter. Pohlkamp's out there, man. Like Pohlkamp is out there trying to shut this thing down. So the more I watch Pohlkamp, and again, like we don't know, right? We assume Zeke Williams probably going to sign his ELC and start his NHL career with the Wild, who could definitely use a shot in the arm. You like Pohlkamp could be enticed to go back because he would be like the guy on Denver. But I don't know, man. I like he does have some stuff to work on. And I think one of the things is, especially on transitions, where he tries to kind of push guys outside. Like on the off the rush. I think some of his off the rush defense could use a little bit of work there, but I don't know if I think that's going to be something he's going to just have to kind of continue to work on in the pros, because like it's just one of like no product coming out of like they're never finished, right? And that like players are going to have to continue to work on stuff. So that is something like I have noticed with him, was he can get turned a little bit easier there, and you'd like him to be a little bit kind of sturdier on that. But I do think he has the tools of being sturdy and doing well in that area. So I am really curious to see how the Sharks navigate this, because one, we know Pohlkamp, we've said it on this podcast, he doesn't like school and wants to turn pro. Do the Sharks do it? Like I kind of lean yes. And again, like also Pohlkamp is an overager, right? So even though the Sharks drafted him 2 seasons ago, he should have been in the 2022 draft. Right? They drafted in the 23 draft in Nashville. He should have been in the 2022 draft. Overager, has done 2 years of college. And he's played really well. And if he does, like if Denver wins, this whole thing, and who knows, like they could win it. Like Denver's a really good team, and they have a really good goalie who Matt Davey like always plays well in these big situations. Why go back? And you never know with the coaching. Like I know Matt Carl is it Matt Carl? Like he is a like he's a hot commodity. I can't believe I forgot the Denver head coach. Somebody's listening right now, just yelling in their car his name, and as I Google it right now. David Carl. I see Matt Carl, Sharks defenseman. David Carl. Like he's a hot commodity. Who knows? Maybe he goes pro. Like like could you see David Carl coaching the Flyers potentially? Right. Like they're. Danny Briere is aggressive. Like, could you see and then you have Michkov and you have a, exciting young core there. Like, could you see that potentially? Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised. I'm really curious. And the Barracuda definitely could use some help right now on the blue line, because that thing has been ravaged by the Sharks and injuries and stuff. Not that Pohlkamp is going to be playing like on the Barracuda right now. You're right, because if they lose in the first round, if they lose in the final 4 here, that game is April 10th. So like the earliest you could like really sign and get him into camp, get him into San Jose is probably like the 11th or 12th, to be honest. If they get to the championship, that game's on the 12th. So you're looking at, again, probably like the 14th just to get him in. So maybe get him in for the stretch. And that would be the right sign as ELC for next year, ATO this year, that we're kind of seeing with some of some of the Sharks prospects. You see a lot of prospects here Noah Backwright signed his ELC for next year, but is on ATO right now to start to play with the Barracuda. You could potentially do that. So, it'd be really fun to have Pohlkamp in. And we've talked about it before, but there's going to be a big opportunity on this blue line as you expect some of these guys to kind of graduate, right? Luke Muldowney for sure is like graduating. Maybe Jack Thompson graduates, maybe Luca Cagnoni at some point maybe starts the season with the AHL and then moves up. Like there's going to be opportunity for a guy like Pohlkamp to play on the Barracuda next season. So, Pohlkamp, the Pohlkamp watch is going to be fun. We'll keep checking in on some of the other prospects here in just a minute, including Joey Muldowney, was an absolute monster for UConn. We'll talk about Quentin Musty's first game back, all that fun stuff here in just 1 minute. All right, before we finish up, of course want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. When you're done with this episode, go check out one of the other shows here across the Locked On network. You have Locked On NHL. We cover the biggest stories in the NHL every day with a rotating cast of hosts. I'm on every Tuesday with Seth from Locked On Wild. Or check out one of the other shows here in the Bay Area. You have Locked On Niners. I think just did a mock draft. Mock drafts always do well. So that's always fun to do, right? So they just did a mock draft. You can also check out Locked On Niners, Locked On A's, Locked On Warriors, Locked On Giants. Plenty of great stuff here at the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. All right, Joey Muldowney, and that Penn State UConn game was an absolute treat. Penn State winning in overtime. So Reese LeBach moving on to the Frozen Four. Poor Joey Muldowney. Hit UConn is done. Muldowney impressed me in that game. Watching him, the growth in his game especially since last year. Dude was a monster, an absolute monster in overtime, and had multiple opportunities to end that game and just wasn't able to. I think from what it sounds like, he definitely wants to go back. Right, their goaltenders and freshman was absolutely they have a young group of guys who looks like they might be ready to kind of make an even bigger jump, kind of a bigger statement next year. So I expect Muldowney to come back, and have it seems like he's having a great time and have a big monster season next year. But again, for a 6th round pick, dude scored almost 30 goals this year, had a goal today. Like I said, probably could have almost scored another goal to end, to win the game. But dude's tough. The dude is he drives to the net. He's not afraid to go in those dirty areas where you score goals. He's got a wicked shot, really, and physical. He laid out Reese LeBach at one point in this game. He had a couple other big hits as well. Muldowney, I came away super impressed with Muldowney's game and how far it's grown and developed, especially since last year. As for Reese LeBach, I think he's definitely more of a complimentary piece on Penn State compared to Muldowney, is more of a center focus. So, but good for him and Penn State to play in some big games here now. So, LeBach did have 5 shots on goal, and he was an active part of it. But I think he's still a bit more of a complimentary piece on there. I do expect him to go back. He should go back next season and play for Penn State and continue to be a 1C for them, and if not top 6 for them, and hopefully can start to work on that play driving a little bit more and kind of being a little bit bigger guy and kind of piece and having a little bit more of those moments. But I think though you got to feel good about some of these college prospects and how they performed this weekend. So switching to the OHL. So I watched the Sudbury Wolves game today. So Quentin Musty ended the game with an assist in this game, had a couple shots on goal as Sudbury loses in double overtime to the Kingston Frontenacs. Kingston now up 2-0. It was Quentin Musty's first game back from injury. He had missed a couple games, right? Missed the first game. They've been very cautious with him kind of going down the stretch here and holding him out and trying to get him rested up for the playoffs here. So I do want to kind of grade on a little bit of a curve here, but you saw Musty show some flashes of Quentin Musty and do some good things, but you didn't see like beast mode Quentin Musty where he just kind of is like, you can tell he's just the best player on the ice. We didn't really see that today. The first overtime was well, we'll start with the third period because they were down 3-1 and Sudbury did come back. And a lot of it was because of Quentin Musty's line, right? He had an assist on the game tying goal. And he was like helping to drive offense and, doing Quentin Musty things that you like to see of, right? Getting the puck to the slot and kind of to those high danger areas, which is what Quentin Musty is very good at, right? Is driving play and making those things happen. And they just didn't really connect on a lot of stuff today. Again, Kingston is the favorite in this game, and they are a 3 seed. And they almost won the whole, like they were almost the number 1 seed. So like this is a tough team that they are playing against, and Sudbury is very much underdogs in this series. But the first overtime, like both teams were just playing not to lose, and it was very just ugly hockey of like kind of chip it in and just don't make a mistake and stuff. And yeah, on the game-winning goal, Musty was out there, and it like he kind of was. I think he was. So the forward was kind of coming down. Musty was behind him, and Musty was kind of kind of giving a couple taps here and there as you would expect. I would have liked to see Musty maybe be a little bit more aggressive there. But again, it's also double overtime. It's his first game back. I don't know how much juice he had left in the tank there. And he kind of passes off the forward to the defenseman. The defenseman also kind of stuck in no man's land there. The goalie also definitely wants that goal back. So that's one of those things where you'd like him to be a little bit more sticky with his defense there. But again, I'm also like it's double overtime and your first game back. So I can understand that maybe, right, your legs just aren't quite where they typically are there. So, but they did have some good opportunities in overtime. But like I said, it was very like don't make a mistake type of hockey. So I didn't get a chance to watch London. London did get out to like a big lead. Owenstown did come back a little bit in that game. Casper Holton with a big goal to kind of put things away there. Casper Holton in the playoffs, man, just different dude. So Holton had a goal and assist tonight with like 5 shots on goal. Dickinson didn't get on the score sheet, but he did have like 6 shots on goal. So again, like Dickinson's good. As for some of the other Sharks prospects, I know Colton Roberts had a goal, and so did Carson Wetch as well. Calgary's up 2-0. They won. And then Vancouver, they were down like 4-0 or something and came back in that game to make it interesting. They lose 7-5, and they're down 0-2 in that series as well. So, there's your update for Sharks prospects. I think I got hit on everybody in that as well. So that's me for me today. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Fun interview with we'll just say a well-known personality. So that'll be coming up 9 p.m. Pacific time. YouTube, check on your podcast feed. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.